Welcome to the Trinitarian Church podcast and video cast if you're watching on YouTube. Hey, today we are talking about Proverbs 13. Been a couple weeks here since we dove into Proverbs. And so we're just going through chapter 13. It's very Proverbsy. What do you think, Adam? You want to give me a little synopsis? Anything that jumps out here?
Yeah, it's kind of all over the map is fair, but there is some theme. We were talking a little bit before we got started recording that a lot of this Proverbs chapter is about kind of natural consequence for sin and natural benefits for righteousness and hard work and discipline and truth. Speaking truth is big in the early part. A wise son heeds his father's instruction, but a mocker doesn't respond to rebukes. From the fruit of their lips, people enjoy good things, but the unfaithful have an appetite for violence. Those who guard their lips preserve their lives. Early on, it's kind of continuing from Proverbs 12. A lot of how we speak determines the righteousness that we're living out, or that sort of stuff. And then it kind of shifts into more of a slow work is a good thing, and then a little bit more consequences for sin is not the most happy things for us to look for. I'm kind of rambling. Somebody rescue me.
It's all good. One of the things I loved that jumped out to me, I'm reading what I'm NIV, and when one person pretends to be rich, it has nothing. Another pretends to be poor, yet has great wealth. And there's a lot of stuff in here about, kind of honestly gaining wealth and inheritance to your children's children. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here about money, I guess, and how to be a wise steward of it, and how not to don't front, as my generation. I don't know if people say that anymore, but as we would have said back in the day. And don't scorn instruction, and basically, like I said, it's very Proverbsy. And then you've got 24, 25. They kind of almost dive into some other stuff. But Alec, what do you what jumped out at you from this chapter?
One of the things that I really like about Proverbs in general, but I think is especially visible here, is just how grounded a lot of this is. Like, this isn't we're going to hike up the mountain for days and speak to the old hermit and see what mystical secret of the universe he has for us. It's like, be smart with your money. Don't be foolish with it. Work hard. Don't say stupid things. Like, it's very like grounded. It's like something your grandmother would tell you. And I think that's some of the Proverbs at the end of the book are actually, it's like, the Proverbs that so-and-so's mother gave to him. You're like, yep, this does sound like kind of mama wisdom there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really like that, the whoever guards his mouth preserves life. He who opens wide his lips comes to ruin. You're like, yeah, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Like, it's very reminiscent of that kind of wisdom. And so I really like that it's that it's been codified here, that it's down, and you have this very like earthy kind of wisdom in comparison of these two paths that are laid out constantly in Proverbs. Like, there's the path of the wise and there's the path of the fool. Here's what those look like. And they're things that you could do any day. It's not for this rare moment of like deep spiritual insight, but just a very practical way of living wisely and knowing when you're not.
I like that. Not some esoteric secret teaching, but just, okay, work hard, tell the truth. Things will be good. That's good stuff.
That's what I love about this chapter, and really, I mean, honestly, it's all in Proverbs. That it's grounded. if you've ever read, if you've read a lot of like Eastern philosophy, there's not to say there isn't some wisdom there, but a lot of it can come off as, a little hard to decipher what exactly you're supposed to do. And that is, not to go too deep into it, but that is sort of the point, to sort of meditate on it, on an idea that doesn't necessarily make sense sometimes. But I love how this is just like, almost like your mama's advice. It's just like, I've been through life and here's the sane way, here's what'll get you into trouble and here's what's going to actually help you out. And it's can I even say it's not spiritual in some ways? It's just life. Like, this is literally just good advice. Not that there isn't a spiritual component to it, but you can read this without even being Christian and go, yeah, okay, most of that, yeah, that's probably wise. And I love that.
None of this mentions God
right.
at all, or worship even.
Yeah, it's not even, about God in a sense. You can say it is because it's in the Bible, but it's about how to live a good life. And I love that we have actual, like, concrete advice, to go along with stuff that's more lofty. It's nice to have stuff that's just as simple as, dishonest money dwindles away. I mean, that's a useful thing to say. Or, walk with the wise and become wise. Like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, and it's, like you were, kind of alluding to, Jason, that this is something that you could see elsewhere in other cultures, and it might be more veiled in some of that mystery, intentionally or not, and it might also be very plain. But that's kind of the thing about wisdom, is that it works no matter where you are or when you are, and not that things will work out well 100% of the time. And I don't think that's exactly what Proverbs is trying to say, that, you do wise things, good things happen 100% of the time, because we all know that that's certainly not the case all the time. And if you read in Psalms and if you read in Job, you kind of see the other side of things, that it's not always that clear. But hey, if you want your life to, generally speaking, be better and things to generally go well for you, this is a solid start for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Most of the time. Go ahead, Adam.
I feel like I don't have kids, but for those who do, the spare the rod, spoil the child is something worth discussing. That's there in verse 24. Whoever spares the rod hates their children, but the one who loves their child is careful to discipline them. I mean, I am certain that there is some abuse that happens as well, but discipline for your kids is a part of that grounded, wise advice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. And I wasn't even going to get into the whole, debate around spanking and whether it's a literal rod and all that. But sure. For sure, I mean, my now 5-year-old is going through boot camp after being on vacation for a bit, and discipline, it is the difference between daddy being happy and daddy being exhausted. If the kids are, if they're just being respectful and listening to us versus being a little bit crazy. So I can say for sure that one applies to parents. My goodness, yeah. If you do not discipline your children, absolutely you don't love them. And what form that discipline takes is a whole different debate. But you absolutely teach those kids to respect themselves and your time and everything else, so that they grow up to be competent people.
And it just speaks to something that, none of us really like as humans. We don't like correction. Yeah. We really don't appreciate that. We don't want someone to tell us no. But as, Scripture points out, and, Proverbs points out, that, hey, if we have boundaries, if we have things that, nope, you just shouldn't do that. And there are very good things that you can be doing. like that leads to a better life in general. But if you don't have guidance, if it's anything goes, if it's whatever my whims say at any moment, well, Proverbs has a word for that person, and that person's a fool, and will lead themselves to ruin.
Yeah, I mean, and isn't that basically what foolishness is? It's to not have any discipline, to just do whatever, wherever your heart takes you on any given day without any thought to the future or to other people's well-being. I mean, that's, to me, that is foolishness, and usually, I don't like being disciplined. I don't like, I don't like rebuke. I don't like being ever wrong or corrected or anything. I don't like consequences. Who does? My 5-year-old doesn't. I don't either. And it's all kind of the same strain, learn to walk with the wise, to restrain yourself, to manage your friends and your money and your time well and everything else and your desires, or they'll lead you to ruin. It's not like we haven't been talking about this for all of Proverbs, but it still rings true.
Good
all right.
stuff.
Well, we kind of, without me even asking, we kind of just jumped into how do you apply this to your life. So I'll just ask you guys any final thoughts before we wrap it up.
Yeah, one other, Jim. Verse 10, where there is strife, there is pride.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Man, I have learned that. I have found that to be something that rings true almost always, that there's pride at the root of a lot of strife.
Yeah, absolutely.
Having humility goes a long way. I heard it's not in the book of Proverbs, but it would be a great proverb. That was he who throws the second punch started the fight. It's like, ooh, I like that, because you can have one hostile person, and we've all had those moments when our pride rises up to want to counter that. It's like, but if we could humble ourselves, we might avoid something really nasty.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Yeah, and isn't that even like partially the idea behind turning the other cheek? That by not engaging with the violence, you are humbling yourself. You're not taking your chance to fight back, and maybe that not maybe, but that should work to end conflict rather than continue it. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us as we go through Proverbs in the Bible. We love talking about God, and we're glad that you're giving us a little piece of your day to listen to us just discuss things that we care about. So thank you all. Hope you're doing well. Have a great week.
See ya.